Hello, everybody. This is Brett Davis coming to you from, excuse me, IQ Podcast. A little Jack Daniel's throat there, a little whiskey before the show, and by myself, of course. It's not a habit. What's that?
You didn't share.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we have Will share after the show. I've got a couple bottles, and we'll talk about life and all that other stuff. But before I start, of course, I have a gentleman here who we met recently at the Midway, which is a great location where he was nominated one of the best at what he does in the solar industry. Kent Harle, of course, is with Stellar Solar. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Sure. And before we start, I have to thank my sponsors, because without them, we would not be where we're at. Of course, Attorney King, where you see him everywhere all over San Diego. Thank you. He's my partner and my friend, of course. Sequan Casino and Resort, IB Fitness, and the infamous Nikki Rottens, who makes probably one of the best baked potatoes and steaks and hamburgers. It's an East Coast thing when you have a chicken sandwich and they knife the sandwich a bunch of times. It's like they're mad at the sandwich. But anyway, so tell us how long you've been involved with solar, and why solar, because you probably could have went into a lot of other things, right?
Well, yeah, solar. I got involved in solar in about 2004. We were in business since 1998 doing energy efficiency and things like that. So I've always kind of been in something along energy savings or low pollution products, things like that. But 2005, I was kind of forced into make a little bit of a career change, or 2004. And, solar was up and coming, and I met a few people that kind of made sense. So I was an electrical contractor since 1998.
Wow.
And it was a perfect time to just transition. We changed the name of the business, and solar, man, we were selling through Home Depot and stuff back in the day. And there was a few people in it before us, but I think most of those are gone now. And we kind of claim to be the oldest in the market.
Well, you look pretty young. I mean, so how many years ago was this?
That was 18, 19 years ago.
Wow.
Something like that.
And you're still around.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at 18, even
that's aged me a lot.
Well, you've got good genes. It must be Iowa.
I absolutely.
It must be an Iowan thing,
It is.
So the most businesses don't last in a couple of years. There's a huge fallout after a couple of years of business, right?
Well, yeah, we've had our close calls for sure, but kind of navigated through the tough times. There's a thing called the solar coaster. So, industries like this, when they're new, they thrive, and then the brakes get put on, and then there's so many different things pulling at us. It's kind of crazy, political and environmental
all the time.
Yeah.
Do you have to have somebody specifically in the office that handles the whole government type of thing, or how does that work?
Well,
or is that you? Is that you?
It's
Are you
kind of
ducking and weaving?
It's kind of me, but it's kind of my sales manager too. You got to find somebody that really loves that piece of it, and I like it, but sometimes you feel a little helpless, because there's some big players in the industry too that have more to lose than us. I mean, we have everything to lose, but they've got a lot more of everything. So they play a big role in it. But any chance we get asked to participate, there's been some people shooting at the industry lately, the utilities, and a couple of the local Congress people, things like that. So we rally up with all of our competitors and put the face on and go battle.
So if somebody was going to get solar power for their house, why would you tell them it's I mean, in my mind, I pretty much know, but what would you tell them? Why is it a plus?
Well, so solar's, what's great about solar is it gives you the opportunity to produce your own electricity. It fixes your bill or eliminates your bill for life. So all of a sudden you've got control. You can look at it a couple ways, that you basically bought all your electricity for the next 20, 25 years up front. Or if you finance it, we can finance people for less money than their bill. And once that's paid off, call it 8, 10, 12 years, whatever, however long you finance it for, then your electricity is basically free.
And in San Diego, that's not a bad thing to have your power bought 20 years in advance.
It's not, because especially with, like, I don't know if you just saw, rates went up. They said an average of 7.8% January 1st.
What are we paying? 34 cents per kilowatt hour?
Yeah. So
something like that?
In some places on some of the time of use stuff, it's like 66 cents.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. So
how can they get away with that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's still, we're one of the few states that seem to think that's okay.
It sounds like the Wild West.
Yeah. It's highway robbery, Wild West. Yeah.
So there's an advantage in those situations why people should consider getting solar.
Oh, absolutely. And again, like I said, isolates you from any rate hikes in the future, things like that. So, I mean, one thing, you're young, you're 35 years old, you're
Well, I
buying your
appreciate that.
house.
Thank you.
Yes. And your customers, but it's really nice if you can go out and start figuring out how to eliminate your bills,
Oh yeah.
If you're thinking long term, like say, especially somebody that's going to be in a house for 5 or 10 or 20 years, if you're buying your lifetime house, it's like put solar on it because you're going to eliminate that bill. I know my, bills over the years, they'll start at 200. Next thing you know, they're 400 and then they're 500. And, as you get closer to retirement, things like that, who really wants to have a $500 or $600 a month electric bill? When you could have paid for it 15 years ago.
I could see it eventually being $1,000 a month.
Oh, I see it all the time.
But I mean, consistently on average for most people, I think it's headed that way.
It's absolutely headed that way.
How many years do you think are we away from that?
Well, here's the deal. You start charging electric cars at home, things like that. One of the things we got going on in the industry right now is the CPUC, the California Public Utility Commission, is trying to take away the value of solar by not giving you the credit that we've been given in the past. So, you couple that with the fact that they want to make you by 2035, we're mandated to buy electric cars in California. So all of a sudden it's like, you got to drive an electric car. You might still have a gas car, but you're not going to be able to buy new ones. So you're going to have 1, 2 electric cars, which probably use 3 times the amount of energy that your house uses. Couple that with your electric bill, things like that. All of a sudden it's like, you need a pretty good sized solar system, but that's why they're trying to take it away right now. Because, again, they don't want to give you all the control, is my opinion.
And state to state, it is different.
It is different every state. Yeah. So there's a thing called net metering that's, I can't tell you the exact number of states, but it's 30 some states have a program called net metering, which allows you to contract with the utilities to basically buy and sell electricity through the meter. If you generate more during the day than you're using, you push it onto the grid and you pull it back at night. They changed it a while ago to where, they don't put it in and out of the meter at the same rate, but it's still a really good deal. And from our industry, every time they raise electric rates, it makes it easier to sell.
Sure.
Now, I'm not an advocate of raising electric rates. I'll fight it every day, but at the same time,
you're going to be busy either way.
Yeah, we're busy either way.
And the fact is that you were nominated by the San Diego Union as one of the top solar power companies.
No, we won it.
That's what I mean. That's what I say.
Okay. We won a 7 out of 9
Some
years.
people don't understand what I'm saying. Can't you read the words that are coming out of my mouth?
He said nominated. I just want to make it clear.
Okay. He was nominated and he won
7 out of 9.
And he accepting the award for solar, of course, was who accepted the award? You did.
Bill Walton.
Bill Walton. Hall of Fame, a legend basketball player who's really big into the environment.
A little better known than me. So
I don't know. You're pretty well known. And I think it's so reputation's everything in this industry. And we were talking earlier, and we'll be real because our show is always about real talk, and that's what it's about. There have been some companies out there that have taken advantage of individuals and have really, in some way, I think, caused a bad reputation for or skeptic individuals from getting solar. Am I correct?
No, absolutely. Like I say, when you get an industry that's had so much press and so much interest as solar has in the last decade, it brings in a lot of people with creative financing, things like that. We sell a lot of cash. We also sell a lot of finance deals, but we always want to sell to ownership, because at the end of the day, you want to own your system, right? And you control it. If you sell your house, it goes with the house. But
does that mean the person gets takes over that payment every month?
Well, you can, but typically, let's say I'm just making these numbers up, but let's say it's a $20,000 loan and you sell your house before it's paid off. You're going to owe a couple $1,000s. So you paid off at closing. The next person has a solar system that's owned by them. It's warranted by us still. The warranty transfers, and it's easy.
20 years.
Yeah. Warranties are 20 to 25 years, depending on systems.
Okay. So on average, the typical basic system for a house is probably going to cost about how much?
If we're just talking very average, it's $25,000. If we just looked at the metrics every month, an average system cost is about $25,000. But that doesn't mean we don't sell them for $12,000 either. And sometimes they're a couple $100,000. We do a lot of work out in the ranch. There's people out there that have thousands of dollars a month.
Oh, I bet. I bet. So now somebody's going to get solar. One thing my wife had mentioned, I don't know if this is true. She said credit is important. Is that true?
Well, you mean credit to finance it?
Uh-huh.
It can be. I mean, we have financing that's usually down around 650 credit scores, things like that. to me, back to the financing is to make sure that you own it at the end of it, because there's a lot of creative financing out there where somebody might knock on your door and say, hey, we want you got to look at solar. I can save you a few bucks every month. I can, you have a $300 a month. I can sign you up here for $200 a month. And there's escalators and things like that, but you never own it. They'll say the solar system's free, and then you just buy the electricity. And in my opinion, those are never very good for the homeowner, because the credit's still about the same that you need to do it. And again, we'd like to say if you can buy it and pay it off and own it, then you've got control of it. And to me, that's the biggest reason to go solar, is to have control. You fix your payment, or you prepay all your basically the cost of electricity, and then you're isolated from rate hikes and all that kind of drama in the future.
Is California number one when it comes to houses that have solar panels on their roof? So
yeah, absolutely.
Who's number two?
I should probably know
Arizona.
They're not number two. I think
because Arizona, all that sunshine, I would think it'd be number two.
Their policies are not, and their electricity is kind of cheap, and their policies are not quite as good as California's have been. I don't know, Texas, New York, New Jersey.
New York.
Yeah, well, they were early adopters. Very expensive rates.
I would have never imagined New York.
Again, probably not as many, but maybe per capita or in early adopters. They've been doing solar out there. When I got in this business, the market was New Jersey, New York, California, and then it kind of New Mexico was an early adopter. Colorado was. Those are
Colorado. I could see
they were early. Yeah. California is still the big one. So Governor Schwarzenegger did a really great thing. He came in with that bill. I don't remember the number or the letter.
There's a million roofs.
It's called Million Solar Roofs Bill. Yeah.
Right.
And it worked really good. It was just $1 billion that was, different tiered. And when we got to so many houses that dropped, and it just was self-adjusting all the way down to zero. And it was really nice.
He's a friend of the show, by the way.
That's good.
He's a good person.
Yeah. I'm a fan.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think even now, even out of office, he's very big on the environment.
Well, in fact, yeah, he just put a pretty good, I don't know what you call it, an op-ed or a plea together for, in opposition to what I was talking about that the CPUC was doing. So into what they're trying to do to the industry. So I think it was just in the New York Times.
Is Europe further ahead in solar than the United States?
Well, Germany was one of the early adopters too. I don't know. I'm a local guy here, so.
But you're pretty schooled. I mean, you know what's going on, and it's just, those are just interesting questions, because I believe we can always learn from other countries and other individuals. And you are doing a phenomenal job, by the way. And what is the best thing about your job that you like to do?
Oh, well, I like the employees. I mean, I really do.
Like family?
Yeah, absolutely. I like trying to figure out how to keep employees moving up through the ranks and stuff like that, promoting from within.
I'm the same way. I agree with that.
It's the best way to grow. It's not always the easiest.
It's good for morale too.
It is, and I think historically we've had really good morale and good culture. COVID's been a little hard on us, quite honestly.
Really?
Yeah, it's tough. We had a group that used to work together every day, and now we're trying to, tie Zoom togethers and text, and
that would make a difference.
It's like a long distance relationship. It's kind of like, this is hard.
So how many employees do you have about?
We're right at 100.
That's a good number.
Yeah. I think we've been as high as 130, something like that.
Sure.
Right now we could use some more, but it's hard to find people right now.
So with the whole situation with real estate in San Diego, with the shortage, it seems, of real estate, there's a lot of older properties that are out there that maybe are on the fence. Maybe they're like, maybe I should get it, maybe I shouldn't. What would you advise them?
Well,
and that's true, right? There is a lot. They're not really building like they.
No, you're right. Everything's retrofit, really. I mean, there's not a lot of new construction. People ask me all the time, is because there's a law that says, all new construction has to have solar. It's like, well, there's not a lot of new construction. It's major remodel,
right?
Which is different. But what we found in the last few years is that we've done an awful lot of roof and solar combinations, whether we do the roof or we sub it or they do it. It's a good time if your house is aged, you need a new roof. It's a great time to do solar, because you can tie part of that cost into the cost of the solar, so you can get your tax credit on it and all that. So, and
that's a good segue for the next question.
Okay.
So is this last year to get that big tax break?
No.
Okay. Why do they keep saying that? Well, not you. You're not saying
it. What? It changes all the time.
Right.
I don't believe it's going to start dropping soon. It's scheduled to drop, but it was scheduled to drop prior to COVID, and then because of COVID, they kicked it down the road a little bit. And I think it'll probably get kicked down the road again. The biggest thing we have going in California is just the fact that net metering is going to change. So, I mean, that's why we're so busy right now, is because people are coming in. If they're going to do it and get the better deal under net metering 2.0, which is what we operate under today with the utility, we kind of got to get in soon. We're expecting a decision. Well, we were expecting it on January 27th and February 10th, but they've kicked it now indefinitely. So I don't know if indefinitely is another month or 5 months.
You just don't know.
Nope. So we're operating a little bit blind, going fast at a cliff here, but
that sounds like kind of like the way we've been operating, all of us, the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. What about the whole situation with the opportunities now for people to have granny flats? How does that, I mean, is there an opportunity with solar with those situations? Because there seems to be a big shift because of the shortage of housing with granny flats in San Diego.
Yeah. So I just had a conversation with a friend the other day that's building an ADU, and I do believe that falls under the new construction or the new home where you have to have your mandated solar. So, I mean, most people, what I'm finding is if somebody's out there and they've got the ambition to build a second house in their backyard, they're probably putting solar in too. They probably already have it on their main house, and then they're going to put it on the ADU also.
But it's something to think about.
Absolutely. You know, I kind of think this ADU thing's kind of neat.
I do. I do too. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
We're looking at doing it.
Absolutely. The permitting for new construction is pretty tough some places. So hopefully they're making it easy on some of you to do it. But again, we need some affordable housing. There's another nice roof. If you're going to do it, design the roof for solar.
So you've been doing this for about 20 years, but as long as we've been married, Sarah. That's a good.
Congratulations.
Well, she's the boss. I just do what she says, and it works out great. But so the thing is, I'm wondering too, what about commercial businesses? Do you do that at all, or is it strictly residential?
No, we do a lot of commercial.
This is going to be a good question coming up after this, by the way.
Okay, well, good. Yeah, I mean, I like the commercial work. It's nice. You know, the jobs are longer. I mean, we do about 100 jobs a month residential. So every day you're turning, burning, you know, inspecting. You've got jobs in every phase of construction. But it's nice. You know, we probably do 15, 20 commercial jobs a year. And
how many?
15, 20. You know,
okay.
We do a lot of churches. We've done some big industrial, you know, up in LA and Hanford, Fresno, places like that.
You do go that far?
We do. Primarily now there's enough business in San Diego. The commercial business really took off up in the Inland Valley with the wineries and the farms and places like that. They were like early adopters.
Right.
But now, like one big project we did here in 2010 already was the Salk Institute.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know, and that
what a nice property.
It's beautiful property, and it's turned out really well too. And,
well, see, this is what I'm saying. I mean, like I said, we've never had anybody quite like you on the show before, and I think it's good to get that information out. Salk is a iconic building.
Absolutely. So it's really cool because it's actually it's on the National Historic Register.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So there's some writings on the wall down in the electric room and the inverter room where that they've put plexiglass over, and we couldn't mount stuff in front of it. It's amazing when you think about when that building was built versus if you ever get to go in it now. It's like, you know, it was built, I think, in the 60s. And
I thought it was older than that.
Maybe it was, but it's somewhere 50s, 60s, or early 70s. And, you know, they didn't have the cabling and the computers and all those neat stuff, but yet you go in there and they did not tear that building up. I mean, everything's tucked away very cleanly.
Nice.
It's a pretty amazing building. It was fun to do, and a little bit long in the process to get it implemented, but that was 2010 already. And then we do a lot of churches. We got three car dealerships we're doing right now. Which I like. That's the kind of stuff I like. You know, churches, car dealerships, you know, just people that own their buildings. If they're a business owner that owns their building or has a really long-term lease on it, it's a good opportunity.
Sure it is.
Paybacks are 3, 4, 5 years.
Good tax write-off.
Absolutely.
So here's a question I was going to go into next. One of the fastest growing areas in the country right now is the whole hemp marijuana industry. And of course, it requires a lot of electricity, correct?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So have you worked on any of those types of things? What are your thoughts on that? Because it seems like there's going to be a lot of new business coming from that sector.
So I've looked at stuff for people, you know, a couple here, like in El Cajon, places like that. I've looked at, nothing's ever materialized. I mean, people have sometimes limited access to capital. So when there's a new business like that and they're putting up facilities and all this stuff, I think as they mature and they start realizing like how much electricity we use and how that's like one of their biggest unknowns, it's going to become more popular.
Because I would think that would be like a huge savings for them if they had
Huge.
solar.
It is absolutely. I think a lot of those people are like I know the one that I was talking to a while ago. They're in a facility that they don't know if they're going to be in long term, and they're expanding and they're building, these huge greenhouses, things like that. So it's going to be huge. Bitcoin's another one. I mean, they're putting places up out in the desert where they mine different cryptocurrencies, things like that. The amount of electricity they use is unbelievable.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so
have you done some of those projects?
No, again, these are all things where people ask questions because we're in the business, but nothing's materialized yet. But it's really interesting, because everything we're doing right now is shifting towards electric, transportation. And I mean, they're even talking, electric airplane or electric powered airplanes,
Really?
all that kind of stuff. Absolutely.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it's pretty insane, I honestly, I think one of the best professions for some of these kids coming out of high school that don't maybe have the ability to go to college is look at the electrical trade.
There's going to be we're actually going to be doing a show on the whole trade industry.
Well, absolutely. But you think about it, just the electrical industry in particular, being an electrician, because, I mean, think about how many gas stations are going to be going out of business as they pull those out, and how many car charging stations are going to be put into your supermarkets, your malls, and all that. The amount of copper going underground and in the air and every place else is over the next decades. It's hard to imagine.
So you really believe gasoline is going away?
Well, look,
it's not going to be like we're seeing. It's probably going to be like you said, all electric.
It is. And I'm
not
even saying this because I love it.
No.
Because I'm a gasoline guy. I got a lot of motorcycles and I like all that. But it's coming. I mean, the electric cars are real. They're,
we have hybrids.
Yeah. I even think that the hybrids are going to go away. I know people in the auto industry, and pretty much every auto manufacturer is lining up for going all electric. I mean, Volkswagen, even Porsche, I think. Don't quote me exactly, but I think they said it's like 2030. They're only going to have 2 gasoline models left. That's Porsche. GM's going the way. They're all going that way.
My fear is what happens if the grid goes down, or what happens if we don't get power? What happens to the cars? How do they generate the
Well, you should have solar on your house.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, I say it kind of funny, but it's true. It's like, I mean, I hear you, but no different in Canada right now. They don't have trucks moving. So how do they get gas places?
Well, okay. So you have solar in your house, and I believe I'm pro solar, by the way. I just haven't taken that step, but we will talk more about it. What happens? How much usage? I mean, before you have to well, you said the charging stations are the answer. So you power at home, and then when you go on the road, you have to know where your stations are at.
Yep.
Can those stations go down though?
Well, I think there's, that could happen in any industry. I think, certainly, I think there's some issues that can happen with this. I'm not saying this is the perfect solution. I'm just saying that I do believe that between political and what the auto manufacturers are doing, that we are 100% going that direction.
So what's going to happen to those people that are in those jobs that are involved with fossil fuels? Because we've taken a big hit.
Yeah.
Because I think the idea is great, by the way. We tried to make a huge shift from, and I'm not going to get into politics, but we went from one extreme to complete other, instead of a slow process of slowly getting more solar based and electric based. It's like we made this huge change within a couple of years. And I think it really, in my mind, it should have been more of a slower, gradual thing. I said, it's like pulling the rug from underneath people, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. So it was kind of interesting. When I first got in this industry, we sold British Petroleum or BP solar panels.
Really?
That was like they were an early adopter, and they were running ads in the paper. Instead of BP, which stands for British Petroleum, they were saying Beyond Petroleum. They were investing in wind and solar and all kinds of other energies. Then they had their spill in the Gulf. Again, this is kind of my opinion. I think they had a
epiphany.
Well, they had a identity crisis on their hands, right? That they had to deal with. And they kind of like, I think they had a new managing director come in, and they shed some of these businesses that were, cash drains and not probably profitable at the time, even though they were early adopters. So they kind of got out of it, but I think you're going to see some of the gas companies get more and more into solar and electric power and things like that. there's a lot of ways to generate electricity. It's not just solar. So I think we'll see that. But it is going to be really interesting when you pull up to a stop sign, you see 4 gas stations currently on those corners. And I mean, this is a pretty fast ramp. I mean, the law in California says that you can only sell electric cars come 2035. I mean, that's 13, 14 model years away. It's not very long.
No, it's not.
You've been married 20 years.
Well, you've been in business 20 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's half that time, basically.
Your business has outlasted a lot of relationships.
Maybe even one of mine. But yeah.
Are you a single guy?
No. Happily married.
Okay, ladies, he's happily married. Don't be emailing me, asking me these questions, or Sarah. He is a happily married guy. And no, we're not brothers. So we got all the information where people can contact, of course, Stellar Solar. It's a great name, by the way. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Did you ride your motorcycle here?
I did not. I should have, huh?
Man. And motorcycles are going to be electric.
They're coming too. I mean, I think Kawasaki made the announcement that they're going to be 100% electric. Again, I think 2034. And right now it's like, they don't make one.
I wonder if they're seeing the competition with this new surge in electric bikes.
Maybe.
Which I'll be honest with you, I'm old school. I like pedaling a bike, and I just see people on these things and I laugh. And it reminds me of a very high intense, what was in the 80s they used to use? My gosh, what was it called? Everybody had one.
Oh, the mopeds.
Yeah.
Like
it looks like it looks like a moped on steroids is what it looks like, right?
I mean, that's kind of cute because I grew up, when you're 14, we could drive in Iowa.
Right.
We could drive mopeds anywhere.
Right.
And
they were cool.
Well, kind of. I mean, it's cool because you had freedom, right?
Right.
So yeah, these electric bikes are the same things. And I think as battery prices come down, there's a lot of reasons everything electric is going to be simpler, It takes an awful lot of technology to build transmissions and internal combustion engines and package them into vehicles that work. And I think as we go through this, you're going to see some amazing vehicles, motorcycles, cars, trucks, everything.
Well, you're very much in the community. Is there any community projects that you work on that you're really passionate about? You do a lot, right?
I wish I did more.
Really?
It's hard. Well, always, one of the things it's not in our community, but I work with a group out of Haiti, out of Massachusetts, actually, that does an awful lot of good in Haiti. They've got 1,300 students that they educate and feed and things like that. So I was just headed down there before COVID struck and the trip got canceled. We haven't been back since, but that is something I'm pretty passionate about. Something I'd like to do a lot more of, in the years coming. It's a fifth world country that's, an hour flight off Miami. You don't have to go to the other side of the world to find people that are just devastated. So
that's something you're very passionate about.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty crazy deal.
How did that happen? How did you get involved with that? Because you've got all these other things around you in our country, but Haiti, why Haiti?
Well, a couple of reasons. I mean, actually, I was in the snowmobile industry, motorcycle industry for a while, and a friend in the industry, they were drilling wells over there. So he told me to tag along once. So I went over and they were scoping out where they're going to dig wells for some people in Haiti, and that was my first experience. And then one of the guys that works for me, his sister out of Minneapolis, got me involved. She was just kind of on me nonstop, and I always wanted to go back. And so I started going with them. Again, it's a mission called, or it's a NGO called Mission E4 out of Hubbardston, Massachusetts. And it's just really impressive what they do.
Well, I mean, I think that they've had a hard time between earthquakes and between where they're located with big storms. And I mean, they've been torn up many times, but they're still surviving.
Well, yeah. And politically, they got so many issues. And then it didn't help this year. Those 16 people got kidnapped for a month and a half, 2 months, and we didn't even know how to rescue them. It's kind of crazy to me. But they're on this other half of the Dominican Republic, and it's a beautiful island, but it's been ravaged of its natural resources, through bad political moves and things like that. So, but again, it's crazy that you can practically see it from Miami. I mean, you can't, it's an hour and a half flight, but it's not very far off the US coast. And these people, live like you can't even imagine.
What are you most passionate about?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I like a lot of things. I like business. I mean, business is a lot of fun. Solar, other, hobbies. I like motorcycles, and all that kind of stuff, but I love my family. Honestly, yes, I've got kids from 22 to 4. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Like me.
Yeah.
The
It's
same
fun.
way.
I
Yeah.
love it. It's,
Well, they keep you young,
yeah, kinda.
right?
Yeah. I don't look bad for 32, do I?
No, I thought you were 25. Solar's working for you really
Oh.
well. What one word best describes you? One word.
I can't do that. I have no
That's
idea.
That's 2 words. That's actually 4 words.
Oh,
One word.
I have no idea.
Passionate,
Well, absolutely.
focused,
No,
community.
maybe.
Okay. So again, we appreciate your time because you're a busy guy and you love what you're doing. San Diego's better because of what you're doing. I appreciate the integrity in your industry that you bring. Again, you come highly recommended from Union Tribune and, of course, from a lot of other individuals, from the Chamber of Commerce of San Diego to a lot of other people. We investigated you.
Well, good.
And your numbers, everybody's like, you're a stellar guy, you're a solid guy. Reputation follows you, doesn't it?
Well, you know what? Without a reputation, you got nothing. I mean,
You've got a great reputation.
well, thank you. I mean, we probably sometimes to the detriment of making money, but look, not every job goes perfect, but typically you can resolve any issue to make it to where the customer's happy. I think we have 99 out of 100 people pretty happy.
That's great.
So, at the end, that doesn't mean everyone went perfect and that we didn't screw up, we didn't leave a mess or make a mistake, but it's how you recover.
So you it's how you recover. And the other thing is, I think when it makes a difference is when you love what you do, because you're able to find ways out of those things.
Well, it's funny. It's like I still know people when I might have their phone number from 15 years ago on my phone, or I'll recognize their voice. I don't know who we installed last week necessarily, but 15 years ago, I know them all.
That's
That's and
amazing.
it's fun for me when somebody picks, or when I pick up the phone and they're like, "Are you the same bald guy that came out?"
Are you the same? The same
me.
What?
Yeah, same bald guy.
Is it a discrimination?
A little bit. We're kind of a special class.
Well, don't tell me, Sarah. See, we're special. I appreciate Ken Harle for being here today, of course, with Stellar Solar. He's a great guy. I look forward to learning more about what they do. And who knows, maybe we'll end up getting solar from him too. I just got to talk to the boss and see what her take is on it. But I highly recommend what he's doing. We're very careful who we have on our podcast or anything we do in our media, because we don't just do things for the money. We do things because it's the truth and because it's honest. I appreciate you.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate you having me.
Well, I did. I hope you had a good time.
I did. It was really fun.
Take care of yourself.
All right.
Okay, everybody, take care. Be nice to each other. And remember, if you're looking for a great solar company, we highly recommend, of course, Ken Harle with Stellar Solar. And everybody take care and behave yourselves, but not too much.